name is Justin Dito, and here are my 5 guys that I'm presenting in front of. And alright, I'm about to adjust my camera, so get it set up. Let me shut the door. Sorry about this, just setting it up. All right, so I'm doing my presentation over Major League Baseball, and my name is Justin Dito. All right, so the first thing I'm going to talk to you about is the playing field. And, you know, a lot of baseball players refer to as the playing field, which is the baseball field, as the diamond, because it forms a shape of a diamond, and you can see that. And this is a picture of the Texas Rangers baseball field. And it's pretty cool. I mean, it's actually a square is what they formerly know it as, but you can see if you're looking at it straight forward, it's a diamond. And currently in 2015, there are 30 different Major League Baseball fields in different cities throughout the U.S. And there's 2 stadiums in New York, and there's also 2 stadiums in L.A. So two for the biggest cities in the world. All right, and now we are going to talk about the first professional field and game. So as you can see, this is called a silent field, and what I noticed first about the field, I'm taking a look at this picture, is there are no fences back here, and there's also no stands. I mean, most Major League Baseball fields you see nowadays, they have stands and crowds of people, but this one here, you can only see just a few amount of people standing on the sideline, as well as, you know, the ball players back in the day. And this was actually in June 19, 1846, so it's been quite a while. All right, and the next thing I'm going to talk to you guys about is the format and the rules of this. So you see that I wrote down 9 innings. Okay, so there's 9 innings in a baseball game, and that's the duration. There's no time limit, kind of like basketball or football. There's no time limit where you have quarters or anything like that. You get as much time as you needed to score as many runs as you can in 9 innings, and the most team with most runs at the end of the game wins. And we also see that on Major League Baseball teams, there's a 25-man roster, but actually that's the 25-man roster at the beginning of the regular season. At spring training, there's more than 60 players on the team, and you know they're all fighting for a spot to try to make it on the big league roster, but the final cut is only 25 people. And there's 2 leagues, actually, that MLB is split up to. And there's one that's called the American League. You can see that's the logo for it right there. And there's one that's called the National League. And typically, what the American League has been known for in the most recent years is they're more of the power-type hitting league, and the National League is more for the pitching, and that's what they rely on. So, yep. Also, one thing I forgot to mention in the previous slide, the National League, they have 9 batters, and one of them is actually a pitcher. So in the National League, either when you're doing an interleague and American plays over there, whenever the game is hosted in the National League ballpark, you have to have a pitcher hitting, which they're not known for hitting very much. They don't really practice it, especially if you're an American League pitcher. And in the American League, what they do is if they're the home team in the American League, you have a designated hitter, and they are the ones that hit for the pitcher, and the pitcher does not have to hit in the American League. Okay, now we're going to move on to baseball in the early stages. This is a picture of Abner Doubleday. He is the one that founded baseball, and that was in 1839. The game of baseball was actually formerly called rounders. This is where they developed the game from. I'm not too positive on what rounders actually was, but it wasn't specific to the rules of baseball nowadays. And the guy that created rounders was Alexander Cartwright, and he He could be known as the founder of baseball, but officially they're gonna name it Abner Doubleday, in which you'll see they actually have a field named after him as well. Let's see. In the very first game of baseball professionally was on June 19th, 1846 versus it was the Knickerbockers versus the New York Nine, and the Knickerbockers was actually Adam Cartwright's team. So yeah. And finally, we're going to move on to African Americans in the game of baseball. So many people would think that Jackie Robinson was actually the first Major League Baseball player. That's what everybody hears about, you know, the movie 42 and so on and so on. But it was actually George Stovey and Fleetwood Walker. So George Stovey was a pitcher. He was one of the first ones that made it in there. But he wasn't as publicly known as Jackie Robinson. And that's kind of why people refer to Jackie Robinson as the first player, because he's the one that actually battled through it. The other guys, him and George Stovey and Fleetwood Walker, they didn't make it past a couple years in the big leagues, so they weren't really as widely known because they weren't, I guess you could say they couldn't take it as long as Jackie Robinson did, but they were officially the first baseball players to play. And one last thing I want to hit upon is the increased salary in baseball from the beginning stages all the way until now. So back in I think it was 1850s and on, when they first started playing professional baseball, the highest the players were making on average was $800 a season, which you're like, it does not sound like very much for, you know, someone that's a great athlete. You look at nowadays, it's in the 2015 current average salary for MLB baseball players is over $4 million, and that was mind blowing to me. I mean, I don't know what I would do with $4 million. So it's a very high paying sport, especially compared to sports such as football. You see. Alex Rodriguez is one to mention. He was making $27.5 million a year, and Clayton Kershaw is a pitcher nowadays. He is has the highest contract in Major League Baseball history. He just signed not sure how many years, but he's making $30 million a year, which is a record and just unbelievable amount of money for one player on a team. So there's actually teams that don't even have that much of cap room on their team. So it's a very fast growing sport. So. And here are my references, and I'd like to thank you for watching. All right.